Hey, Brian Wright Show Nation. Welcome inside the broadcast booth. Brian Wright here, and welcome in to another edition of the Brian Wright Show podcast. Hope everybody is doing great out there. If you're a business owner that realizes how important 5-star reviews are, and hopefully you do, they're more important than ever before. If you're an employee out there working for a business and you want to know, how can I add value to what I do day in and day out in my activities to add more value to me personally so I can get a pay raise, increase my skill sets? If you're either or out there, today's episode is for you. Look, we are very reactive animals. You hear me talk about this often on this podcast. We get overweight, we try to lose weight. Our marriage goes to hell, we seek counseling. We lose money, we try to make money. Getting people to be proactive, to keep the problems from happening. Or if they still happen, they're always going to be minimal problems compared to what it is if you're reactive. Today, we're going to be talking about a mindset shift you must make in your business. Employees, you must make walking in and out every single day to the business you work for to add more value. And this mindset shift will instantly result in you getting more 5-star reviews for your business. Going to be a really good one. It's all about mindset shift today. And before we get started, let's fire up the music.
Welcome to the Brian Wright Show audio experience, a podcast dedicated to transforming lives, careers, and businesses. And now your host. He's a husband, father of 2, an international business and life coach, the founder and CEO of New Patient Group and WrightChat, and a consultant and global speaker for some of the finest companies in the world, such as Invisalign and many others. Now, here's your host, Brian Wright.
One of the things that drives our digital marketing team absolutely bonkers is the reactiveness that I talked about on the front end of this podcast, where sometimes they'll be trying to get a hold of the business owner, the employee that is in charge of social media to help us out internally carry out our program for all of you out there. And sometimes as business owners, and this is especially true in our niche in orthodontics, dentistry, other healthcare spaces, sometimes you could be the worst at that, where you'll completely go dark and ignore the business that's going on every day inside your practice. But many other business owners that we work with as well, and oftentimes the case, they're just as bad, where they get into this state where, you know, whatever it is, you're a chef and whatever you're doing as a chef sucks you dry. You're a clinician, an orthodontist is an example, and you're so in the weeds clinically. It's like your business becomes the redheaded stepchild. And you go into these dark periods oftentimes where the team cares more about the business than you do, at least on the surface, because they can't get a hold of you. Nobody responds. Team members don't respond. You get the point. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, and all of you can appreciate this because if you're actually doing, you know, you're not paying for 5-star reviews. Every business on the planet is going to screw up from time to time. It's how you handle those screw ups is the real key. Podcast for another time for sure. But we've all had the 1-star reviews. And have you ever been in the situation where you wake up one day, you come into work and all of a sudden, boom, you got a 1-star. And think how you feel when that happens. You know, if you really truly care about your customer and your brand, reputation, everything, it makes you feel sick to your stomach. And we've all had that feeling. And oftentimes what happens, you know, we get the 1-star and we absolutely freak out. It's like, oh my God, you know, we freak our teams out. It's like, okay, how do we get the 5-star? Do I respond? What do I say if I respond? I want to say, do I even, you know, what do I say? Do I even respond? Is this some guy down the street that paid somebody to write a bit? You know, this may not even be a customer. You know, this would be a paid 1-star review, if you will, by another business down the street on the surface doing the same thing I do. And we get into this, again, reactive state where we freak out, and it's a really bad feeling. It's an anxiety push, right? It just is another way to increase your anxiety. And then all of a sudden the mindset becomes focused, right? And that's when, you know, our team is an example, you know, the doctor or business owner, the chef business owner, whatever it may be. All of a sudden, you know, we're getting blown up with 90 emails, 27 Slack messages. You know, I want to meet in 5 minutes on a Zoom session, right? It goes from them being totally dark and reactive and not having any time for their business to overly obsessed about something that just occurred. And many of you out there can relate to this situation, and it's being reactive. It's being reactive to the things that are going on in your business. And as it relates today, this is just relating back to Google reviews. The question becomes, what if you took that same obsession and that same mental focus that you have when you get a 1-star review, and what if you could create a strategy around it where you're like that every single day consistently, to where you can get more 5-star reviews? If you had the same obsession, the same focus, the same freak out, if you will, whenever you got the 1 as you do whenever you want more 5s, right? You wouldn't have to worry about the 1s. I think the majority of consumers who are smarter than ever before, that do homework unlike ever before, which is why, if you look 10 years ago, were 5-star reviews important? Of course they were, and you should have been getting more of them. But if you look today, with people shopping around more than ever before, if you listen to the previous podcasts all around consumer data trends and how to use that to transform your life, career, and business, the consumer data trends, people are looking for convenience and willing to pay more for it, unlike ever before. They're shopping around and calling more businesses, unlike ever before. Our niche out there, you've heard me say it in the previous podcasts, there's plenty of studies that people are calling at least 5 practices, usually now even more, before deciding even who to schedule with. So as they're looking around, getting all this information, the 5-star reviews and what they say. So that's not the topic today, but what they say is as important, arguably more important than getting the 5-star review to even begin with. There's a lot of things that go into that, which we will talk about on a future podcast. This mindset in employees as well, this mindset of being reactive of, oh my God, we got a 1-star. What the hell do we do? How do we go out and get more 5 stars? If you just show up to work every single day and you've got a mindset of, okay, how do we get 1 today? Right? And when we show up tomorrow, how do we get another 1 tomorrow? And the consistency, guys, you heard me talk about this on here all the time, and it's so difficult. The shorter the attention span of all of you out there, the shorter attention span to the consumer you want to become a customer, a patient, whatever, as well as those that you want to remain a customer, patient, and refer and do video testimonials. You have to do things and speak differently because of these consumer data trends. And it is a real thing, everybody, that getting you all to focus on being proactive is a very difficult thing for us. It's a very difficult thing, obviously, for other companies trying to help you as well. And if we don't freak out on the 1-star, instead, let's have the same business obsession and let's turn this into a strategy. One of the things is whatever company is helping you on the digital marketing side of things, if they're any good at what they do, they're going to want to meet with you regularly, not over the top, but once a month, right? And you're going to show up to that meeting as a business owner, and you're going to learn the data. You're going to learn from the posts that worked. You're going to learn from the posts that didn't work. You're going to learn from mistakes. You're going to take their expert guidance and make sure you and the team are carrying it out. And part of that consistency of meeting, when we do it with customers, we see this too, is all of a sudden, the doctor's not in the meeting, as an example, or the chef isn't on the meeting, right? It's like, you guys do it. And it's an instant sign of weak leadership. And it's also an instant sign, again, thinking that your team has to do all this stuff and you can be disengaged. But team members watching, this is as much on your shoulders oftentimes as it is the business owner, because when you show up every day, right, the excuse oftentimes of, why we're not asking for them, why we're not actively pursuing more 5-star reviews with whatever method there is that I'm too busy. But whenever the 1-star review comes in, all of a sudden, none of you are too busy. You're all freaking out. And you've got to have a plan. You've got to turn this 1-star anxiety into a true 5-star strategy. And one of the ways you do that is you can block time, like many of our new patient group customers out there and other businesses that bring me in personally outside of healthcare. The strategy is you need an hour blocked every single week to work on your playbook, to work on the strategy, practice your strategy, to make sure when you're in the game, when you're in your practice and patients are there, when you're in your restaurant and the audience, is there at the tables, that you're really freaking good at what you do. And one of those strategies is asking consistently and asking people on a daily basis. And that could be coming up, your weekly meeting, role-playing how to ask. It's making sure the mindset of yourself and your team sees extreme value in making sure people are being asked and that you're being proactive. I was saying earlier on how the consumer is smarter than ever. One of the ways I was going with that, I didn't finish the point of that, was your goals should not be, let's have 500 5-star Google reviews. If you're that business, you need to understand that consumers understand that you're full of crap, right? A lot of those are your mommy and daddy, your brother and sister, and your friends, as well as other paid for ads, people going in there and writing fake reviews. The best ones are the genuine ones that are actually real. And you should be striving more for 500 reviews at a 4.8, a 4.9. Right? I think 4.8 is that magic number, 4.8, 4.9. I wouldn't want you to ever drop below that. And I think 4.8, 4.9 is authenticity. I think the consumer looks at that as, okay, these are real reviews. And we dealt with this, tell you a story in just a minute, but we've dealt with this in the past. What I'm about to say is all of you, sometimes you can't control the ones. You could implement our full program of hospitality, customer service, customer experience, which are 3 very different things, by the way. Do not get those confused and lump them into one. Sales, verbiage, presentation. You could do everything right, and you're always going to run into the family or the person, whatever, that you can't make happy. Right. And it's like being a waiter out there. You guys can appreciate this, is that a lot of times the tables are the biggest pain in the butt and they're constantly complaining and you can't make them happy no matter what you do, leave you the worst tips. Right. And we all run into those people in every business, in every industry. Everybody deals with that. How you deal with it is going to minimize the 1-star reviews, but we're all going to get them. It's just going to happen. So if you freak out and then all of a sudden you have this relentless focus on how to get more and you're reactive, it's just not creating a good environment. It's a bad mindset. Because if you can get more and you can focus on it after you get a 1, tell me why you can't do the same thing before you get the 1. Like, this is the bogus thing you're telling yourself, is that you're too busy to focus on the business because whatever you do is sucking you dry. But all of a sudden you have the energy and the effort whenever something bad happens and you're trying to overcome it. So if we can go in every single day with a strategy of, okay, we just had our weekly meeting as an example. Now let's start our day on a Monday following that 1 hour. And now let's go out and make sure that we get at least 1 today. Right. And then another one, a lot of you do morning meetings. In our niche, you certainly do. Now, a lot of them are not good. You call them a morning huddle, which just in itself devalues what that whole thing is. When we install into practices, into businesses, as a communication and customer service meeting in the mornings. Well, what that is to enhance your team's communication in order to brighten and enhance the customer service experience to your prospective and existing customers. Well, in there is strategy breakouts, right? There is divisions of the morning meeting that different people are in charge of. Well, one of those is to talk about your social media. You know, the people coming in today to get their braces off, as an example, right? What's our plan to, if we haven't already, get a 5-star review, right? What's the plan to get a video testimonial? Right? You're setting a strategy every single morning and identifying people that you know are happy, right? And it doesn't mean you should wait until the end of your journey with somebody to ask. But throughout the journey, anytime they're giving you clues on how they're happy, your team has to be trained to identify those clues and then ask. And today's not about asking or how you ask. Today is understanding that you must have this relentless focus before you get the 1-star reviews. You must be engaged with your business. You must meet with the digital marketing team. If it's us and you're using that division of New Patient Group as an example, you've got to make the meetings. You can't pass it off to other people and call yourself a leader. You've got to be engaged with it. And you can't only be engaged when things are wrong. I mean, this is a podcast for another time, but I see so many leadership flaws out there in the sense of you become very engaged when something goes wrong. It's, your employees make a mistake, you're all over them. You get a 1-star review, you jump down whoever's to, how could we do this, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden there's this relentless focus, like I'm saying. And it's a bad way to lead your business. And this is why, whether it be your social media content, Google reviews, YouTube, how you greet people when they walk through the door, how you present money, how you use your tech, all of this stuff is trainable skill sets. Part of it, like today, is mindset shift. You can't wait to have the relentless focus once something bad happens. And you all can apply this to so many things beyond the 5-star reviews as well, right? You know that. Is that this could apply to so many different things. Hey everybody, Brian Wright here. Let's step away from the podcast. Hope you're enjoying it today, as the proactive mindset is invaluable for so many different things. But I want to step away and announce registration has begun for our October Iconic event. This event is a full team event and will be the ultimate in transformation of life, career, and business. If you're a practice out there that wants to get better culturally, if you want to increase your numbers, if you want to be more efficient, whatever it may be, this event is for you. I want you to be thinking Tony Robbins. I need you to think outside your space. Get your head outside your bubble. And if you want to learn real life skills, developing your hourly employees so they go back personally and professionally and do a better job for you, take the headaches off of you, if you want them to view their career differently, if you want them to learn real sales skill sets from experts in sales that are hired in businesses all across the world, hospitality, customer experience, consumer psychology, so they know what to say, when to say, how to say, why to say, communication, verbiage, presentation skill sets, and how to apply that to every interaction they have before sale and after. This event is for you. This event is also going to teach you some amazing technology that you can bring back into your practice, into your business, to increase engagement and increase conversion in your numbers across the board. But, and I want you to think this always, the reason why we are so popular, the reason why people say the Iconic event is unlike anything they've ever been to, is that our expertise comes from outside your bubble, but we know your bubble and how to apply that expertise to make you unique in the utmost of ways. Bring your team, and at minimum, this is for the doctor, office manager, your lead clinical assistant, and lead front desk, lead admin position at minimum. Ideally, your whole team is there. You will be blown away and never want to attend another event in your space. All right. It is a popular event. It is growing like crazy, and limited seats will be available. I am going to put the link to click to register for our October Iconic event in Nashville, Tennessee. We have an awesome hotel rented out, awesome parties that we're going to have for you. And we have changed Iconic from just being in Colorado Springs at our training center, and we're going to go on the road now. And the first one in October is going to be in Nashville, Tennessee. It is going to be beautiful. Join us for Iconic. Do not miss out, because October, towards the end of the year, right, we will set you up for success for 2026 and beyond. Registration link is in the description of this podcast below. See everybody there. And now let's get back to today's episode. And it's funny, in our niche, you all understand that if a patient waits and they're reactive, what happens, right? A lot of times it's too late. You can still fix the problems, but now they're looking at multiple things to correct the problem. They're looking at a lot of lost time. They're looking at higher financial costs to fix it, as opposed to just being proactive. And a lot of you out there get frustrated when patients don't accept treatment because it's better for them and they do wait. Well, in our world, we get frustrated because you're the same way. You just do that to your business. You're extremely reactive, and instead of being proactive to fix the solutions, you'll say things like, that solution is too expensive. Meanwhile, you have 50 new patient no-shows a year, and your conversion could be 10% higher. That's expensive. And I think this mindset applies throughout, but today, as far as Google reviews, you've got to walk into the business every day. You've got to use your weekly meetings. You've got to use your morning meetings. You just have to use your mindset to be proactive. And whenever you get a 1, like I was leading to, you shouldn't be in a situation where you freak out. You should be in a situation where, you know what? We just got 10 5-star reviews in the last 2 weeks. We happen to get a 1, but now we're at 150 5-star reviews and 3 1-stars. And so now we're getting this mix of reality, of authenticity. And nobody wants a 1-star review. Like I said, sometimes no matter what you do, it's unavoidable. So knowing that, why don't you go in with a proactive mindset and get one every day? Now, you get one every day by creating a culture of your people are going to ask. They're going to learn how to ask. They're going to look to identify clues. That's how you're going to do it. Asking will destroy automation any day of the week. Now, if you have some automation, like a 5-star Google review link that goes out, that in combination with asking, the human element with the automation element, best of both worlds. And we're not going to talk about the automation and kind of what I was getting in there. A long time ago, this was, year 2 of New Patient Group. And we didn't have our you-know-what together. We were still on the coaching side. At the time, it was just me. The coaching was fine, but we were still building out the digital marketing. The team wasn't great. And the team we have today is just phenomenal. And that's why they get so frustrated when some of you out there go dark, or they can't get you to do stuff and carry out the marketing assignments and look at the content calendar and engage, because they know something bad's going to happen around the corner where you will engage. And they want you to be proactive. But the team now is so amazing. Well, we did a website and digital, just social media for this doctor in Florida. And now, to our credit, this doctor in Florida was a little nutso. All right, when I say little, I'm being politically correct. So there's a lot of more accurate things I could probably describe this lady as. But at the same time, our processes and our communication and things like that weren't as streamlined or even close to how they are now. And the people we had weren't as good to the people we have now. So it was also on us. And I think a lesson for another time, podcast for another time. But I think a lot of times, many of you out there, you need to take and accept blame more than you do. You'll get the 1-star review, and instead of learning from it, you freak out about it. And instead of taking the whatever situation caused the 1-star review, and oftentimes it's several. I did a podcast a long time ago, a few seasons ago, it wasn't that long ago. And it talked about the real reasons behind your 1-star review. It's a really good podcast to go check out, because oftentimes if one thing happens, people will not hit the internet. But typically they hit the internet once one thing turns into 7 things. And a lot of times those 7 things you as a business owner don't even know are happening, right? They walk in the door and you don't have their appointment down right. They walk in the door and they have to sit for 30 minutes in your waiting room. They call your practice, leave a voicemail, nobody calls them back. It's that kind of thing. It's this domino thing that finally somebody goes, all right, I've had enough, and they hit the internet. Rarely is it one thing. Now, sometimes they'll talk about it just being one thing online, but if you get the 1-star, I don't want to go in the weeds on this, but you've got to learn from it. You can't just poo-poo it and say, bad patient, bad customer, whatever it is. You've got to look at it, and you've got to actually learn from it. And if you have these meetings and this proactive mindset, you're going to be getting so many 5s that the 1-star really doesn't move you back. But whenever you do get the 1-star, you can use it as training content to make your people better in those scenarios, to make sure the 1-star doesn't happen again as it relates to those scenarios. But this lady was very unreasonable. And like I said, there were several things that we did that were our fault. And that, like I just taught you, the reason I got into it is we did look at it. We're like, hey, look, this person's a crazy person. But there are several things that we did that we should have done better. So let's use that as a learning tool, as a training tool. You get the point. So she eventually hits the internet. And if you look at our history of 5-star reviews with New Patient Group, we're at a 5-star ranking right now, even though we have 2 1-stars. And we do that because on Google, once you're at like a 4.97, as an example, they're going to bump you up because there's no decimal points beyond the 4.9, right? It's not going to show you 4.9778. This is eventually going to bump you to 5. So if you look at our reviews, they're all 5-star reviews except for 2. And this was this lady that wrote it. And then her husband was the office manager, and he went on and wrote one too. So it looks like we got 2 1-star reviews from 2 different practices, but we didn't. Those 2 1-stars are from the same. But we had already had, now that knocked us back because we were new, but we already had 10 5-stars. And the way the 1-stars were written, you could tell these people were crazy, right? And we did go on and respond, and we respond very politely. And I think if you look at all of our 5-star reviews now, it kind of proves my point, is that when you see how much people love us, how different we are than anything that exists out there, there's nobody else out there that teaches and implements what we do into businesses and into our niche in orthodontics and dentistry, et cetera. Nobody else exists. On the surface, it may look like it, but nobody else exists that does what we do. And if you look at how much people love us and the great reviews, and then you see those 2 1-stars, they look like crazy people. But we didn't, oh God, freak out. How do we go get more 1? Because the culture, even when I started this company, was let's consistently ask. Let's consistently go beyond for the customer and have a mindset of being proactive. So if we do have a situation where we didn't exceed expectations, combined with a person that's a little bit crazy, if we do, all the 5 stars are going to offset it. So everybody, stop worrying about your 1s. What you need to be worrying about is not getting enough 5s on a consistent basis. Create a strategy. Meet with your digital marketing team. Block time on your calendar every single week. Use a morning meeting that's actually a meeting. You can't have, on this podcast for another time, but you can't have make-believe name Janice clocking in at 8:01 for your 8 o'clock morning meeting. And Susie walking through the door, putting on her makeup. And like so many of you out there do it. And that is a culture problem that domino effects into other areas of your business, in this case, your practice. Be proactive, everybody. Go in every day, say, let's get 1, right? You don't have to go in and get 50 in a week. You just need to be consistent. And the only way that's ever going to happen is you having the same focus, the same energy, the same effort before you get the 1-stars as you often do whenever a 1-star creeps in and you freak out, all right? Have the right mindset, everybody. And employees out there, what I was hinting at earlier, we'll finish on this. Oftentimes, business owners, we get distracted. We got a lot on our plate. So you can absolutely take it upon yourself to tell itself is that every person that I come in contact with, I'm going to ask for a 5-star review, and I'm going to do everything in my power to get 1 every single day for the business, or 2. You don't have to get 1 every day. Just start with 1 a week, then get 2 a week, then get 3 a week. And you will be so invaluable as an employee, you can't even believe it, because it is very difficult to find people that want to work hard. It is very difficult to find high-level talent that's also coachable, that wants to improve their skill sets every day. And boy, oh boy, if you're that team member, you're going to make more money than you can ever possibly imagine. All right, so have that mindset too as a team member and help out in this proactiveness pursuit, if you will, of having the right mindset to go out and get 5s so you don't have to worry about whenever you get the 1s. All right. Hope everybody enjoyed today. Have a proactive mindset. You know, this applies to so many other things in your life, your career, and your business as well. Hope everybody enjoyed today. As always, thumb this video up for us on YouTube, share with your friends, family, and anybody that's wanting to transform life, career, or business. We have a new YouTube station, remember, everybody, so that's going to be linked below. Obviously, the name of the podcast now is switched from the New Patient Group podcast to the Brian Wright Show. As you've heard in previous episodes, a lot of reasons we did that. If you're listening on the audio experience channels out there, appreciate your support as well. Please write us a 5-star review on iTunes or wherever you're listening to this podcast, and share with your friends, family, anybody that wants to transform life, career, and business. Appreciate all of your support out there and following us and listening. And until next time, we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.